And on this day, 15 years ago, bizarre and frightening events played out in Granby. A man named Marvin Heemeyer terrorized the mountain town with a bulldozer he had retrofitted with thick armor. Heemeyer had a running feud with the town over a zoning issue and used that bulldozer to destroy 12 buildings. No one was hurt in that rampage, and Heemeyer killed himself as authorities moved in.
Welcome back to Dark Discoveries. My name is Dustin, and I'm here with
Jimbo.
And today we're going to dive into the story of Marvin Heemeyer. Are you familiar with Marvin Heemeyer?
I am.
Who was he?
Killdozer.
I'd say this was a man. This is a story of a man
Who's had enough.
who definitely had enough. And I think a lot of these small towns in America could take heed from this story. So, you know, they, like these small towns, we grew up in a small town and they decided they wanted to put city water in, and they force you to connect into the city water. And if you don't, you know, you get like a body attachment put on you. We know from experience. And a body attachment, if you get pulled over for speeding, could end you in jail. And your bail is the amount of hooking up and paying those fees, which maybe happened to somebody in my family.
Which means you have to get city water anyway, right?
Yeah, so they force you into it, even though you're on a well and you have all this and you're not hooked up. Like, I guess it'd been cool if Dad would have decided to make a bulldozer and just, you know, drop a pick and just rip through the streets of Selma, Indiana. But they just took him to jail, and they're like, this is usually something they don't take you to jail for. They're supposed to say, you need to take care of this.
Was your dad outfitted like a Volkswagen Beetle, made it really cool and done it? Or would he have
I don't think he'd have done a Beetle. Maybe a Ford Pinto or something. But, you know, it's like, we're going to force you into this even if you don't want it. You have to pay the connection fee and all that, even though you're not using this. And we've not tore up nothing. And
well, let's think about it. Let's say you have no mortgage because you paid your house off. Guess what? You're still paying
property tax.
Exactly.
Another way
Biggest
that they steal from you.
rip off in the world.
Yeah, because you don't
insurance period.
You don't ever really own it.
Nope.
So, you know, we didn't go that far. We just kind of like, this is stupid, and we did it. But Marvin Heemeyer didn't think that that was acceptable to be treated the way that he was. So we're going to kind of break down who Marvin was and his story. So Marvin Heemeyer was born in Castlewood, South Dakota on October 28th, 1951. We don't know a whole lot about his upbringing other than he grew up on a dairy farm. He did join the United States Air Force in the early 1970s, and it's reported that he served as a civil engineer and maybe did some heavy equipment specialist work. Although, I mean, the public details on this is kind of limited. We do know during his service that he kind of learned some of the mechanical fabrication and heavy machine skills that would probably give him the knowledge to do what he would do down the road. You know, welding, working with hydraulics, you know,
heavy machinery,
metal fab, you know, working on that stuff to make it work. So after leaving the Air Force, Marvin had a knack for welding and ended up working at a muffler shop, and he decided to go into business for himself. He was successful and ended up owning a couple of businesses where he would just collected the money. He'd go on 6-month vacations in the area of Granby, Colorado. He fell in love with it and decided that he would move into Grand Lake, which is about 16 miles from Granby. He loved snowmobiling. He was a part of the group called the Thursday Crew. A super hard concept to understand that these guys would take their snowmobiles out every Thursday and go ride. Hence the name, the Thursday Crew. Like I said, great concept. Straight to the point, my kind of guy. Marvin would build custom bumpers and different things for these snowmobiles and outfit them. And, you know, when you kind of got that work done by Marvin, you were kind of, part of the crew. These bumpers would knock down 4 or 5 inch trees. So you're out there riding and there's something in your way. If it's not a huge tree, you're going to get past it.
Did they say how many was in the crew?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
You're wanting details. You're wanting details. We're not going to provide them details. But things started to change in 1992. Marv would buy a 2-acre lot that was at a foreclosure auction with a shop for about $42,000 with the intent to lease the property to a friend. This is where he first met Cody Dochev. After the auction, he was the former owner of the land and wanted to buy it back. It was said that words would be exchanged, and in the summer of 92, he was told he had to connect to the sewer. Marv was told, by the government, they would help pay, run the lines, and, help with the septic tank, figure out all the best options. Didn't really happen, as we're going to find out. Marv felt that, this work to hook up into the sewer was retaliation for him purchasing the property. The closest main was several hundred feet away, and it would cost him out of his pocket $60,000 to $80,000 to connect to it. The property would also have issues with the EPA for contamination from its previous owners. So Marv decided not to lease the site, but he would just, make his own muffler shop, start his own shop and work out of that. So in 1997, the Dochefs decided they wanted to expand their business to include a concrete batch plant, and they started buying up all the land around them. So when the planning commission suggested that Joe Dochev buy the land from Marv asked for $250,000 for his property. But then he would ask another $125,000, saying he had it reappraised and it was worth more. The Dochefs would raise about $350,000, and once again, Marv would raise his price and say the property had been reappraised, this time for $450,000. He's a businessman.
So he's playing games.
He's a businessman, but I think he also felt he was probably disrespected and didn't really appreciate the way their first interactions went and probably the interactions after that. So yeah, he's going to probably play games with them and just, how far can I take this?
Now, did he really get it reappraised again, or is that just what he's asking for? Do you know? Was there
That's
any
what he
documentation?
says. I don't know there's any documentation, but I would say that's probably an excessive amount for what it was and for the time. But, different areas, that size of land in Indiana versus California is way different.
Well, not only that, but if those other businesses has started building around him, it might have made this property more valuable.
That, and if you have to have it to complete what you need, you're going to pay,
Well, unless you're the airport, then they can just say, hey, we
eminent
need this.
domain.
Here's what we're giving you, and done.
Yeah. They'll eminent domain you, and they'll take your land for
pennies,
the bare minimum of what they can give you. So, like I said, he kept raising the price. Marv would propose a land swap, giving him prime land next to the highway. But yet again, this deal would fall through again. And when Marv demanded them build him a new shop, it's more and more and more. It's like, okay, do this. So when the deals fell apart again, Marv would launch a public campaign to stop the concrete plant, despite a large town hall meeting with the majority not wanting the plant. The council advised the plans, or approved the plan, sorry. In November of 2000, Marv would file a lawsuit to stop the project. A city clerk would write a letter to the newspaper to argue Marv had a vendetta against the Dochefs and would reference Marv's exorbitant demands by January of 2001. Marv would lose most of his allies, and the city voted almost unanimously to approve the plant. Then Marv would try to appeal, saying the construction would basically surround his shop and, just would leave him, in a bad spot with land that he couldn't do nothing with. In June of 2001, the Dochefs would offer to grant Marv the easement if he dropped the lawsuits. So you need to put that sewer line in. okay, we'll work with you finally, and we'll give you the easement if you drop this lawsuit. They would not charge him for this, of course. Marv would refuse. Now, this is when things start to get a little bit smelly. The property has a burned concrete barrel truck for a sewage tank. So like the what I'm guessing is the concrete truck, the big cylinder that they keep the concrete in. Somebody made a sewage, tank out of that. Seems rock solid, right? As time passed, that tank started to overflow. Marv's plan was
a messy situation here.
A smelly situation. Marv's plan was to pump the waste into an irrigation ditch. When that was going to be not going to work, he would illegally connect to his neighbor's sewer lines. He was reported to the sanitation district. It keeps getting, deeper and deeper and deeper. Hopefully he's got rubber boots on because the shit's getting deep. This is when the town really started to come down on Marv. He is fined $2,500 for code violations, and he would be found in contempt of town code and ordered to connect to the sewer and remove the truck barrel by July of 2003. He could not use or inhabit the property until this was complete. If he did, he would be fined $100 a day until the new sewer line was hooked up. So Marv would keep doing his thing and just said, I'm going to pay him. And he would write his checks out to the cowards and liars department. By this point, Marv was about pushed to his breaking point. In October of 2002, Mark would close his muffler shop and he would purchase a Komatsu D355 bulldozer. And then Marv would start to slowly sell off his assets like his house and his muffler shop. He started giving away things like his prize snowmobiles, all so he could give all of his money to his father. So when everything was all said and done, there would be no assets for the city to seize.
So I'm assuming he's not married or have any children, right?
He did some dating, and I don't remember if it's in my notes because these notes are a year old. This is, we were going to do this for our first year, since now we're in year 2 of doing this podcast. This was supposed to have been a couple months into the first year of doing this, and we kind of missed the date of June 4th. That was the goal. Let's put it out on the anniversary of it. We got a little bit behind and got into other projects, so this got pushed away. But now, as we're coming up on Killdozer Day, which will be Thursday, and this episode releases on a Sunday.
It could be the Thursday before or after.
No, you're going to do it the week of.
The week before or the week after?
The week of.
Well, how's your week going? Monday to Sunday?
Sunday to Saturday is how the week goes.
Really? Because my pay period at work starts on Monday.
Well, Monday, then.
So it'd be the week before.
The wife starts on Wednesday, okay? And it's confusing as hell, okay? So we don't need that. But like I said, all of his assets were sold. He did have a girlfriend, which I didn't think was really prudent to the story, but he did kind of have a girlfriend, and I'm sure at this point she started to notice that he was probably getting a little off his rocker. He just was fed up. Absolutely fed up. So he would rent out a small area to work out. He was in the process, I believe, selling the building. Hey, in the time, just let me rent this little small spot. Let me kind of work. And the new owner was was hooked up to the water and sewage the first day. But that little spot that Marv rented from the guy who bought the building from him, he would run it for 18 months. And he would work at night in secret. And I think we'll talk about it, but he eventually kind of moved into that spot. He was just consumed with getting everything done that he wanted to get done. So Marv constructed living quarters in the shop, and he would armor that Komatsu bulldozer with half-inch steel plates, and he filled those gaps with concrete. Since the entire body was covered by concrete and, covered with steel with, kind of concrete behind it, this big, heavy behemoth of a machine started to develop a problem. If you have all this armor plating, how are you going to see? So with several video cameras and 3 inches of bulletproof Lexan, he would strategically put cameras around this bulldozer to where he could see around it 360 degrees, and he could see everything through 2 display screens. He had nozzles of compressed air that would keep debris from blocking those cameras. Like, he's thinking this out. Like, if I get dirt and debris,
I wish he had windshield wipers on them too.
that'd be really small, but it's like, let's just make sure we can give a puff of air and make sure that there's nothing blocking our view, because safety first. Oh, that's getting good.
I'm sure OSHA wasn't notified either, were they?
Yeah. There's no OSHA involved in this build. He would have 3 separate gun holes that were built into the armor. One was for a 50 caliber rifle. One was for a 308 semi-automatic rifle. He had a 22 caliber rifle inside. Had fans inside and air conditioning to keep him cool while he was doing all this. When Marv sealed himself in, he had about a week's worth of food and about 3 handguns. So when the final piece is put onto this bulldozer with Marv in it, there's no turning back. He's dropping it on there and it's go time. Like, there's no planned exit. So Marv lowered that top on the dozer, thus sealing himself in with no way to exit. And on June 4th, 2004, at 2:15 p.m., Marvin Heemeyer would get revenge on all who crossed him. Marv drove through the walls of the shop and headed towards Cody Docheff's Mountain View Concrete. After leveling some of the building, Docheff's employees would try to stop the dozer by jamming the tracks. Thinking the dozer was being operated remotely, the Docheffs fired shots at the bulldozer, and they tried to climb onto the dozer with no avail. Pretty sure they said that you kind of greased everything up outside, so you couldn't really just get in. You were going to fall and slip, and hopefully you didn't get ran over. So the Docheffs tried to stop the dozer with their own front end loader, but it was no match. Like I said, we talked about 1/2-inch plate steel, concrete behind it. This is a very heavy tank is what it basically is, minus like a big 30 millimeter gun. Marv would shoot at the front end loader, dozer, whatever they had. County and state police would arrive and tried to shoot out the cameras, but the Lexan prevented any damage. Marv would turn his attention to the police, and I think he just kind of toyed with them, wasn't trying to hurt them. But after he got his revenge on Cody Docheff, Marv would start his 5-mile-an-hour charge into town. Police would request a reverse 911 call to help evacuate the town. Undersheriff Glenn Traynor tried to board the dozer and to try to get a shot off inside, but he failed to do so. A flashbang grenade was used, and they tried to put it up the exhaust pipe, it sounds like, with little to no effect. Traynor would jump off the dozer to keep from being hit by debris, because I'm going to go do what I'm going to do, and I don't care if you're on it. So he's like, this guy's crazy. I better get off of this. His next target was the Granby Town Hall, which hoisted a story hour for kids in its library. Moments before the dozer arrived, they were safely evacuated. And about an hour after he started this rampage, he left the town hall in ruins, along with the local newspaper building, Sky High News. So now we leveled as much of the concrete plant that was on your property. Your property probably was 3/4 of the way destroyed that you sold. Sky High News is gone. Town Hall's in ruins. The next stop was Liberty Savings Bank. He would take out the corner of the building where a woman worked as part of the zoning board. So another person who crossed him. Let's go ahead and kind of knock out that part of the building. Police tried to use heavy equipment to stop Marv, but nothing was going to stop him. He would take out street lights along the way, and he was headed towards the Thompson family home, which I believe Thompson was the judge. Marv would open fire on propane tanks that were in his way, containing, 30,000 gallons of propane. He would next target, power transformers. Luckily, Marv never got a good angle to fire at the transformers. Public fears if propane tanks would explode, it could destroy the town up to a mile. So he was trying to get those propane tanks. He didn't, like I said, didn't get a good shot at those either. Wanted to build a little bit of drama, make people think he had a 30,000 gallon propane tank. Just imagine a bomb going off, because that's what would have happened. Police would fire almost 200 rounds of ammunition, contemplated having the Colorado National Guard use an Apache helicopter and use a Hellfire missile to destroy the dozer, but they deemed that too unsafe. Marv's luck would run out after he went to Gamble's hardware store. Due to this heavy bulldozer, he was unaware that the building had a basement. So he rammed it, the floor gave way, and
he was stuck.
He would get stuck. He would try like hell, but he couldn't get the heavy tank bulldozer, or whatever you want to call it. It was a tank, let's be honest. He couldn't get it out. Marv would go through the wall, and a track would go down and get stuck, and the Killdozer's reign of terror had ended. If Mark could have ever freed the dozer, it was starting to finally break down, so he wouldn't have been able to go much farther.
How much fuel did he have left?
I don't know how big those tanks are, but I'm guessing you can go a few hours. But like I said, you're going 5 miles an hour. You're not going to get anywhere really fast. I'm going to guess you probably got 6 or 8 hours worth of fuel, maybe less. I'm not sure. That's the one thing I didn't think about. All the time I watched Gold Rush and all that, you're watching them use these big rock trucks and D10 dozers, and they're lifting heavy stuff, but they don't have probably anywhere near as much weight when you add all the steel plating and all the concrete. The radiator was damaged, and the engine would eventually overheat and eventually fail. After a few moments of struggling to free the dozer, Mark knew the gig was up, and at 4:33 p.m., he would end his life with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Authorities tried to gain access to the cabin of the dozer by using explosives, but after 3 attempts, they still couldn't get through the armor. They finally was able to cut through all the armor plating at around 2 a.m. the next morning. After it was all said and done, Marv would cause an estimated $7 million in damages. And that's in 2004 money. Gosh, think about that today. Inflation the way it is, gas is $4.50 to $5 a gallon across the country. $2 million of that was the Dochef concrete plant that was only insured for $700,000. Witnesses would say that Marvin went out of his way not to hurt anyone during his rampage, which is nice. He was only going after inflicting financial destruction to the people who crossed him. On April 19th, the town decided to scrap the bulldozer and disperse junk pieces to many different scrap yards across the area to keep people from looking for souvenirs. Allegedly, YouTuber Whistling Diesel found a piece of that somebody took, and he created his own Killdozer which is kind of funny because after he did that, he's kind of got himself into some financial woes over a Ferrari that he destroyed. Ferrari did not take kindly of that, and they are after him. So they're going after registering your car in different places because a lot of semis, like especially for racing and things like that, they're actually registered in Indiana versus North Carolina in places because it's cheaper to do it here. Montana, I think, is another big area where people license those cars for tax reasons. So they're going after him for tax evasion. But when he did buy that Komatsu, he did make sure the trailer took it through Granby, Colorado, which is kind of a dick move. But, you know, he recreated it. Not sure if it was just because he likes to tear stuff up or just, you know, in honor of that or just to see if it was doable. But he made it. It made some people mad because a lot of those people kind of lived through that, and it kind of rehashed some of those feelings. So investigators would find a list of 107 names that were marked as targets. If you remember me saying Mark gave away his belongings so the town couldn't seize his assets to help cover the damages, that's the reason why he did it. Marv would make some audio tapes from April to May telling his side of the story. He would say that I was always willing to be reasonable until I had to be unreasonable. So is Marv an evil person or just a man that was pushed too far? Sometimes you deal with it till you have enough. And he was definitely put to his breaking point. You know, you're trying to do things the right way. Everybody keeps trying to shut you down. You got to pay this, you got to pay that. And like I said, he finally had it. Was he good? Was he evil?
Oh, you asking me?
I'm asking you because I'm staring at you.
Well, I mean, I think he probably a little mentally unstable.
I think revenge is one of those things that some people can just be driven by it so much that it consumes them, and you may go off your rocker. You know, we do have a little bit of addictive personalities. You know, you get into the things that you like, you dive into it real heavy, you spend too much money on it.
AKA NASCAR cars.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. But it was all for a good cause. But, you know, you get these things that you enjoy, if it's video games or, you know, whatever your passion is, you kind of tend to invest time and money into it. When your passion's revenge, may not be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have anything to go over with, or is this just kind of me blabbering on today?
We're going to let you blabber today. I think in honor of Killdozer Day.
I hope I did the story some justice.
We'll let him have his own time in the spotlight.
Yeah, like I said, hopefully the notes were decent because this was very early into our journey.
So,
and
Dustin, you recreate Killdozer in your area. What are your targets?
Oh, and an unnamed Mexican restaurant in town that screwed me over.
Oh, you want me to tell him the name?
No, because I'll probably go back because it's the best Mexican food in town. But you don't ignore your regulars. That's all I have to say. I would probably go next to the assessor's office, whoever is in charge of property tax, because when I said, why did my property tax double again? They said, well, you can file an appeal. I said, I can board up my windows and you can come reassess it when it looks like a piece of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And she did not find that very funny, but I was very serious. You know, why has my property tax doubled twice in the last 3 years?
Is it because they're putting in those solar panel farms or whatever they are?
There's not really much in our county around us, but they want to bring everything up. And it's like, I get, like, we don't pay book rent and all that stuff. So that comes out of tax money, but they just tax us to death.
What was that other plant?
And then I'm going to go after Centerpoint Energy because they charge way too much for natural gas.
What was that factory or plant that they were proposing to build close up there to where you live, but it's going to raise your taxes and all that again.
Oh, the county over is getting an AI data center.
Yeah, that's what it was.
They're getting a Eli Lilly plant, which from talking to business people in that county, Eli Lilly is trying to call the shots on everything and make it more difficult. And then they're going to open up a Amazon warehouse right across from the AI data center. And my brother, who works on some big sites, was like, dude, this is the biggest job site I have ever seen. He's like, I can see 30 rock trucks that I can see. And it's I don't know how many acres it is, but they basically took a whole cornfield and maybe two. It's probably every bit on the one side of the road a mile long that they have stuff where they've done work, and probably almost half a mile back. It's absolutely huge. And if you drive by it at night, which I will tonight, it's lit up like the 4th of July, and it looks like this whole town. And they're just working through the night, moving ground to get it level and ready to start building. It's ridiculous. And I've heard horrible things about how much water bills have went up and power bills and other places. I think Illinois got a couple, and I've heard that they've really screwed people over on the price. And the way inflation's going, man, it's going to get tough for a lot of people. And I know I happened to watch something that had Mike Wolf from American Pickers. His girlfriend lives in Kentucky, in Cave City, Kentucky. And I believe yesterday they were voting on an AI data center for Cave City, Kentucky, because they're coming in saying, oh, we can do all this stuff for you. Mm-hmm. We can help your town. And he's like, you have to understand that farther than the immediate actions of what it's going to do is not going to benefit that town down the road. You want to have that town set up for generations to come. And I don't think those data centers are going to do what they want. Well,
think about it. What's down there close to Cave City?
Mammoth Cave, Horse Creek Cave, all that stuff is down there. So if they start building on a site, I mean, Mammoth Cave goes for miles. Oh yeah, it's a huge underground. And if you've never looked at it, if you live within, I'm going to say within anywhere up to 6 hours away from Mammoth Cave, you need to put on your bucket list and go check it out, because it is absolutely worth every bit of time that you can do.
And then when you get down there and they turn the lights out and it's pitch black, you can't even see your hand in front of your face.
It's so hot outside. And then you get within the cave opening and you go down a decent amount, 30, 40, 50 steps, something like that, from the ground into the cave mouth where it opens. You can just feel the cold air coming out of the cave. And it's such a unique thing. And there's walking trails and there's a lot to do. So if you're close enough to go check out Mammoth Cave, do yourself a favor and do it. But the moral of that is it's going to take a lot of water to cool these places. There's already places that have water shortages. I have to pay a water bill and a sewage bill. And that's another thing that I'd probably drive the Killdozer through, is probably
waste management.
Go through whoever had to pay the second bill to, because it's almost equal. So if my water bill is like $60, my sewage bill is about $60. And if you forget one of them, they shut it off. I went from not paying any water or sewage bills in an apartment and didn't know that both of them were coming. And I thought I paid the bill when we first moved. And all of a sudden, hey, I'm in Nashville. I'm 6 hours from the house. We have no water. And it's just one of those things. It's just like, okay, you're raising our taxes. You're raising the gas to heat your house. And it takes you a couple months to get caught up from winter, because this is an area with a lot of old houses that were built in the early 1900s that are great, beautiful architecture houses, but they're not energy efficient. And you hit us with a water bill and a sewage bill, and we're going to double your property tax. And now your gas is $1.50 more a gallon than it was 6 months ago.
Look at all the jobs they're creating.
Your wages are the same.
Right? Look at all the jobs
and how
Amazon's creating.
Amazon will add a lot of jobs.
But at what expense?
I heard the suicide rate with Amazon is high. The turnover rate's even higher. They'll fire you for nothing. They'll work you like a dog. They expect so much out of it speed-wise to do it. And then those data centers are taking up your resources. And how many people really need to work to maintain an AI data center? Nowhere near the amount of, people that Amazon uses. And then you have Eli Lilly coming in. It's just, you would think that would help lower, but let's give these places tax breaks. And who pays for that? The taxpayers.
Yep.
And it's like, well, we'll bring you in, but like, what is it doing for the people? And I think if the world keeps going the way it is, you could see another Marvin Heemeyer make his frustrations known. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, like a lot of people, celebrate Killdozer Day as, a guy standing up for what he really believed in because the city was screwing him over. But who pays for that? The taxpayer's going to pay for that. So remember that come November in 2 more years?
Yeah, you really want to.
When it becomes election time, just remember all this.
All right, Dustin. So this Killdozer took place in, was it Colorado?
Granby, Colorado.
So we always like to highlight a missing child, right? So a fact that you may not know, that in Colorado, 20 children are reported missing every 24 hours. And
what does that compare to the national average?
I don't know,
that seems like a lot.
Yeah, but most of them are runaways.
Yeah.
So I figured we're going to go ahead and, put one of the missing children out here so people will know. So right now we are looking for Tasia. It's Tasia Chavez. Her case number is M248892800. She's been missing since May 8th, 2026, so not too long ago. Location was Inglewood, Colorado. She is 17 years old, and she's a female. And she was last seen on May 8th, 2026. So if you have any information or you know where she's at, please contact the City of Inglewood Police Department in Colorado at 303-761-7410. So keep your eyes out for that. And you know what? Let's do something else. It doesn't have to be your child that you're looking for. It can be, if you see something wrong with somebody takes a kid, say something, please.
Yeah, these people are I've seen stuff in my little small town where people are like, hey, there's this suspicious guy and he tried to grab my child. And you look and you see some of the comments and usually you're like, okay, we get these posts all the time. But you start reading some of the comments and you get more people in your same town that's like, yeah, we've seen this guy and it wasn't good. It's all over the place. So whether you're a small town in the middle of nowhere or you're a smaller town that's not far off the interstate, let your wife, let your kids know, your nieces and nephews, like, hey, you really need to pay attention because the more they hear it, you know, it is, you hear it from your parents, you sometimes don't listen. But if you hear it from somebody else, you may pay attention more.
Oh, so now you understand why your daughter doesn't listen to you, does it? Right?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But when you say this, like, yeah, you're a broken record, I know. But when you're like, hey, did you see this happen locally? Like this happened in your town of like 15,000 people. You got to keep your eyes open and always be aware.
Yeah. And be your brother's keeper. So make sure you keep your eye out. And if you see something suspicious, report something, because a lot of these kids, they don't really realize they're in trouble. They know something's off. But like, I know traveling to work, I take an interstate for almost 2 hours. And if I stop at a rest area, you go to the stall and it's hanging in there. Are you safe? Are you here on your own free will? It just goes down that, that people may not think about because it's becoming a national problem.
And that's crazy because you used to do the only thing you'd read in the bathroom stalls was what people were writing graffiti. And
yeah, you're Dustin's phone number.
You're
for a good time, right?
You're putting, information on missing. That's how big of a problem it is.
Right. And not only that, but when we went, me and my wife went up to Mackinac Island up in Michigan, I say when you get
Toledo, Ohio is a huge human trafficking hub.
So if you get past, I think Detroit it is, and you keep going north, they have billboards about human trafficking and all this stuff. And I had never seen that like where we live. You don't see that quite that often, but it was like every few miles because you have the Canadian border
Yeah,
not
you're
too
getting
far
closer
from
to the
there.
border.
Right. So I thought that's really scary, but I think people need to be more proactive in that instead of reactive when something does happen.
Yep. Just like I said, look out for each other. I mean, these are people in your community that are going to be suffering. So, just if you see something, say something.
Right. Well, thanks for joining us once again. You can follow us on Facebook at Dark Discoveries Podcast. Dustin's trying to get better at TikTok and Twitter and all that, but
I doubt it.
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe
I will take your suggestions on what you like at darkdiscoveriespod@gmail.com and all that you don't like to Tragedy of Cinema. Is it podcast?
I don't know.
At gmail.com. Jimbo's other show, email him because I don't want to hear the negativity. I am all about
It's the
positivity.
tragedycinema@gmail.com, Dustin.
I thought so, but I couldn't remember if it was podcast or not because you know how it is. Every time you want to do something cool, somebody's already taken the name.
Right.
So that way you can try to contact them and buy the domain from them.
But with that being said, this has been Dark Discoveries, where the deeper you dive,
The darker it gets.
I think it's time for second breakfast.